Sourcing moves fast, and if you sell on Walmart Marketplace, you need tools that are going to help you source smarter and faster. That's where Sellify comes in. Sellify is built right into your browser so that you can determine your fees, your profit, your ROI, how many sellers might already be on the listing. But one of my favorite features is the new option to build graphs and charts based on the data that's important to your business. Let me show you how that works.
All right, let's jump in and check out Sellify, and I will talk about some of the features that I find helpful when I'm sourcing. The first thing I love about Sellify is that it sits right inside your browser. You can have it on the right over here, you can move it over to the left, or if you wanted it in the middle of your browser, it'll sit there as well. You get to choose. I prefer it over on the right. This little toggle over here toggles on charts, whether they show up or not on the page when you're sourcing different items like this. You can choose to have that on or off. We are going to talk more about charts later on in the video, so for now I'm just going to leave it on. Over here you've got your product explorer. You can search on eBay, which I actually find helpful when Walmart flags an item for price competitiveness or a pricing error. You can search eBay for something comparable and submit that as proof that your item is actually priced competitively if needed. If you sell on Walmart, you will totally understand what that means. Next here is to search Google for this item. If you wanted to look for other sources, you can do a reverse search. This will bring up your history, and then here are your settings. Today we're just going to use this cute little rabbit Lego set as an example and go through what Sellify offers for you. The first thing that they show is the badges that Walmart also reflects on their page, so we can tell at least 500 of these Lego sets have been purchased since yesterday. Sellify also highlights this bestseller badge, which Walmart assigns to the listing, which is an indication that this item is one that moves fast. It's very popular with customers, and if I could source this item consistently with enough profit to meet my standards, this would be a great item to move forward with. Next here is Walmart's assigned item ID, which I need when I add this item to my catalog. You can just click and it'll copy. It also shows the UPC. For those of you that send into WFS, that is important to note the UPC. If the actual UPC on the box does not match the UPC that Walmart has on file here, you will have to print out GTIN stickers before you send those items in. Here we've got the rating. There's 602 ratings. And currently there are at least 13 offers on this item. Sellify offers a little more data for us so that we can make better decisions. If you hover over the ASIN, it's actually going to show you Amazon's graph here. We can tell that Amazon is in stock and that the price is very consistent around $16. It's just another piece of information that helps us determine whether the price that we're thinking of selling it at makes sense. Amazon is selling this for $16.79. Prices are very comparable between the two sources. I also like that Sellify adds a little note right here to give an indication as to how many units sell on Amazon. Right now, 20,000 units a month. So now that we know that Walmart has flagged this as a bestseller, we can see 20,000 units over there on Amazon. This would be a solid lead if you could source it to meet your ROI guidelines. Next, we can see this little store icon. That is Sellify's way of telling you that Walmart is on the listing and that if you choose to sell this item, you will be competing with them. I have no problem competing with Walmart on their listings, but every seller is different. Next up, we have the calculator to determine our fees and our profit. So for today, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say we were able to source this item for $10. We're going to put 10 here in the cost. We're going to assume a sale price of $16.79 because that's what it's currently selling for. That would actually mean that our profit is negative based on a WFS fee of $4.95, a referral fee of $2.52, and then they also give you storage fees and additional fees so that your number is realistic for your profit. And that is assuming storage of 1 month. But let's just say that we know that this is going to go out of stock because Easter is coming, and we're going to sell this for $25. Now things have changed. If you're planning to sell this for $25, you now are looking at a profit of $5.98. The fee stays the same for WFS. Our price increased, so the referral fee goes up a little bit. Storage is the same, and now we're looking at a profit of 23%. Sellify also lets you know what the max cost that you can spend in order to meet certain parameters that you set in settings. Here we can assign additional fees. Let's say I'm using a prep center and I know that they're going to charge me per item. I could go over here and put, let's say, my prep center charges me $1 per item. Sellify is now going to use that dollar in the computation to decide my profit. Also, this is inbound shipping. I use 30 cents a pound. Whatever you feel comfortable using, you can input there. That's also in settings. And then you can also check these boxes if you're having Walmart do your prep for you, and it'll take that into account. One of the things I really like about Sellify here is the package dimensions. It's not uncommon for Walmart to have inaccurate package dimensions, and that is what your fees are based on. So kind of pay attention, make sure that the dimensions make sense to you when you're sourcing, because that will be a reflection of your fees. And if not, then you can submit that information to Walmart once your items are in stock and have that corrected. If we scroll down a little bit, we can look at product details here. This is really helpful under brand to verify that you're listing on a listing that is actually branded correctly. Walmart is starting to clean up their catalog, and if you are found listing on items that you shouldn't be because maybe you're restricted and the listing isn't done correctly, that can hurt your account health. So always pay attention to make sure that you're listing correctly to avoid any issues with your account. I also like it down here because it gives the model number, which is, in this case, is the Lego number. So you can verify that you have the right information here. If you scroll down, we can look at verified reviews. This gives a quick snapshot of October through March. So in November, there were 5 reviews, in December, 6. With Walmart, you don't get as many reviews as you do with Amazon, so these are very strong numbers. At least you see consistency in purchasing of this item and that sellers are buying it and are leaving reviews. So that's always something that I look for if I'm unsure of what the velocity is on the sales. This helps me personally. So I would always take a look at reviews. Here, if you're thinking you want to buy 10 of these, it'll tell you what your profit would be if you were to purchase 10. Let's say you're gonna go all in on this and you want to know what your total profit's looking like for this purchase. You could say I'm going to buy 1,000 of them, and then it lets you know what your profit is based on the calculator above. And then again, we've got the offer count. We knew there were 13, so this tells me 5 people are seller fulfilling. There are 7 sellers that have this in WFS, and then one of them is Walmart. Right here shows you the min sales price, which is walmart.com. The max that someone is charging is $35.99, and what the buy box is currently at. So you could play with your numbers here. If you were thinking of listing it as $25 like we did above, your offer would fall right in the middle, and that would be a good indication as to if you're off the mark or not. Scrolling down, these are all of the sellers that are currently on this listing and how many they currently have in stock. So we know Walmart only has 76 right now, so there's a pretty good chance that they are going to run out of stock, especially with Easter around the corner. So these sellers here sent stock in anticipating that this item would run out of stock, and then they could sell it for that higher amount. If you scroll down more, Sellify is telling you that this brand is medium risk for any IP issues that could come from Walmart's data and or Amazon. If there was history of sellers getting kicked off listings, then it's going to rate a little bit higher as far as risk goes. It's always good to keep an eye on the brand data IP rating section, but use your own knowledge and your own experience to kind of gauge what brands you are comfortable selling. We've got estimated sales. Sellify is saying 15,000 units a month, which is right in line with what Amazon was saying at 20,000. So again, this item's moving very nicely. You can see the offer count here. You've got a little chart from February to March. So right now we're at 13 offers. We've been hovering around 13 for a while. Down here in February, it was only at 7. So a lot of sales and not many offers. So this would definitely be an item I would want to jump on if I was able to access this item and still have the profit available to me. You've got a units sold chart, an observed units chart. So Sellify here is watching the stock count to see how it is affected on the listing and kind of gives you an idea of how many units have moved. This goes all the way back to February. You can see it's very consistent within the last month, which makes sense because people are shopping for Easter gifts. The next section here is buy box stats. Sellify is going to show you in this pie graph how often Walmart shares the buy box. So it looks like they've been carrying the buy box since November, which makes sense because they probably had a ton of these in stock. But now that they're down to only 76, we're going to see this pie chart divide up amongst other sellers soon. So with seasonal products, that makes sense and something just to keep an eye open for. This next box is seasonality by brand. So if we look at this, we can see that Lego in general sells better in December. Well, that makes sense because it is a very giftable item, a giftable brand, and shoppers are looking for Lego in December. Moving down here, we can tell that June is the slowest month for this brand, and then December being the max, which totally makes sense. Okay, so that's a quick layout of the extension itself, but let's go look at the charts. So I'm going to scroll back up here at the top. We've got our toggle on. So if we scroll down underneath the image of the item, we can see Sellify's charts that they've recently added to their extension. And you get all of this just for currently subscribing. Sellify's always doing updates, and I love that about them. If looking at the numbers isn't enough for you and you want to see the visual graph, you have that now. So here's the price analysis. We can see that most of January, this item was roughly $16.72. And then it jumped up to $19.96 for most of February, and now it's jumped back down to $16.79. So we can get an idea of what the prices are doing, especially if you're looking at an item that you're interested in selling all year round. You'll be able to tell when is the best time to sell that. The other line here is the offer count, which is the purple line. You can see that the item, we had sellers come in stock and then they sold, a few more came in stock, those sold. So seeing consistent up and down with the graph is showing that items are moving, and that's a very good indication that we already know that this is a good product to purchase. And then as you scroll through the graph, you can tell who the buy box seller is. In this case, it's Walmart, which we knew from the pie graph. That Walmart has held the buy box since November, so no shock there. All right, scrolling down. Next box here is the review chart. So we can tell that this item hovered around 4.5, but now it is at 4.7. As it got more reviews, the score went up, which is a good indication that buyers are buying this and keeping it. If you're worried about returns, this would be, one more piece of data that says that this is a popular item, and if you can sell it, you're going to be able to sell it without having to worry about too many returns or unhappy customers. So all of these pieces of data help us make better sourcing decisions. Sellify also lets you do a little customization with their charts. Let's say, yeah, we see the reviews, they're moving good, we like that, pretty consistent. The item is selling more as we're getting more reviews, but the rating is staying the same, so happy customers. But let's say that we wanted to see how that might be affected based on the buy box price. We can click that little plus sign, choose buy box price. It's going to update the chart. And then Sellify will add the buy box price to this chart and show us the buy box price as time goes on. So this could give us an idea of review count based on cost of the item. So as the item was $16.72, did our reviews increase more opposed to when it was $19.96? Maybe less reviews were accumulating, meaning we can kind of find that soft spot for where we could price this item and still have lots of sales. Also, you could add Walmart's buy box to that, and also the offer count. So you can do some customizing with these graphs to give you the information that you need to see. Now we've got everything right here. You can also toggle on to have close-up view on or off depending on how you like to read your charts. If you want to see the zero down there, then you can toggle it off. I like to focus on what's happening, so I usually keep mine on. With these charts, Sellify also lets you personalize your experience. So if you wanted to add your own workspace, right now we're looking at product performance, so we can see price analysis and reviews. That's pretty common. You can create your own workspace by going up here to manage workspace, create workspace. Let's just call this test. Now I can click over here to test, and I can choose my own charts that I want to keep in here. Maybe I like to see different information depending on the category that I'm sourcing, like grocery versus beauty. So you can create personalized experiences for your sourcing type. Here, we're in the test right now, so there are currently no charts in here, but we can add one. So we're going to start with a blank chart. We'll call it test again. Create your chart. Now your chart's empty, you have to choose what data you want in that chart. So you would click add data. You can choose from the buy box price, Walmart's buy box, offer count, review count, or rating. So depending on what you find helpful for whatever category you're sourcing, it's just a shortcut. So let's just say all we care about is the buy box price because we know these items are moving. Now I can just keep it on test and it'll show me the buy box, and I can choose up here how far back I want to see. So this is the last 90 days or 180 days. Or if we wanted to track all of the data that Sellify has on this item, we can click all and we can see that we can go back to June of 2025. So here we can see when it dropped and when we maybe could have picked up that item to then hold and flip later on closer to Easter, because this is a seasonal item. So that's how you manage your workspace. If you decide you no longer need it, you can click Manage Workspace, go over to that test one that we set up, and then you just click Delete and type delete in capitals because they want to make sure you no longer want this. Click delete, and then that workspace is gone. As more data is available, there will be more data that we can add to our charts. So that's exciting. I can't wait to see those. That is a quick rundown of charts and graphs on Sellify's extension right now. I know that they're going to be adding even more, so keep an eye open for that. One thing I forgot to show you with the extension that is probably my favorite feature of all, and I use this daily, is the export feature. This, when you click export, you can export the data that you have here to a Google Sheet. So let's say you have a VA that works with you. What I do is when I'm sourcing, I go in and I put all my information in, what I want them to list it at, what my cost was, and I put a little note up here of where I purchased it from, and you can even put the URL from where you purchased it from. And I export that to a Google Sheet that they check every day, and they add those items to my catalog. So this is a great shortcut for both you and your VA if you're working with one, to stay on the same page and to also track your sources and your reblends. So that's probably my favorite part. Although don't tell Sellify, because everything's great with their extensions.
Thank you for watching. I hope this helps you better understand Sellify and the tools and resources that they have available to you as Walmart sellers. If you're interested in trying out the extension, I will put a link in the description below. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Happy sourcing!